It is Thursday, October 17th. Welcome to another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by SeatGeek. I'm Trevor Plouffe, hosting today. Chris Rose over in London. So we brought in our star reliever, Katie Wu, and not Dan Rourke, but Bobby Gauss, Rob Sirocco along for the ride as well. Katie, thank you for getting up this early. Thank you for joining us. Our fans do love you. How you doing?
I'm well, Trevor Plouffe. No Rosie, no problems. So this should be a fun show. Excited to talk about all the championship series things.
Rosie's always doing something awesome, whether he's in Vegas with a hot dog eating contest. He is in London now covering the NFL. He's actually calling a game, which is really cool for him. So we do miss him, but we always love having you on. So let's get into it. Before we do, I got to remind people the show is presented by SeatGeek. We have a special announcement, okay? To celebrate the baseball playoffs, SeatGeek, the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, is giving all of you 10% off your next purchase with code JOHNBOY Playoffs 10, all one word. It doesn't matter what you're buying or if you've bought on SeatGeek before. Code JOHNBOY Playoffs 10 is going to hook you up. You can actually just put it in, and you don't even have to buy anything. The computer will remember it, Katie. That's what we're doing in 2024. That's code JOHNBOY Playoffs 10 for 10% off your next SeatGeek purchase. You'll thank us later. Whether you want to go to the ALCS, the NLCS, maybe even the World Series, use code JOHNBOY Playoffs 10 for 10% off your next SeatGeek purchase. And as we do every show, we're going to start off with a tip of the cap. And I think we got something that's going to make me feel pretty bad about myself.
Well, it depends on perspective. But let's give this tip of the cap today to the John Boy social media team. Our beloved Trevor Plouffe had a bold proclamation over here that he had never missed a pop-up. And I knew as soon as I saw Talkin' Jake's face that there would be a project here. So let's see it.
Not sure I ever missed the pop-up. If we're being honest, like, I catch pop-up.
Love that. We'll get our research team on it.
I shouldn't have said that. All right, I should never have said that. I knew I shouldn't have said that.
That was a huge mistake.
Foul, third base side. Over his Plouffe. He's now trying to get around that corner and has to go off the heel of his glove.
Okay. There's some more there. Apparently, I did miss some pop-ups during my playing days, which is, I never should say anything like that. Our social team is very good, and the internet exists, so it's just not good for me. Next time you come on, I'm gonna get your lowlights. I don't know if you have any,
That's
Katie.
a long list. But I will say this, Trev, there was a sunball in that compilation. I don't think that one was your fault. There's some foul territory plays. If you're going to miss a pop-up, do it in foul territory. So, yeah, a tip of the cap to the social media team and a tip of the cap to you, my friend. You're a good sport.
I mean, I got to make this show all about me, Katie. That's how I roll. Let's make it about somebody else. Let's make it about the Dodgers taking a 2-1 series lead after an 8-0 victory over the Mets last night. And it was Walker Buehler. He was outstanding. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 6 Ks. Here's LA's Moxie King after the game.
Payoff. Lindor swings and misses. Walker Buehler strikes out Francisco Lindor.
This is loaded, 1 out in the second inning. We've got Alvarez and Lindor coming up.
Yep.
What's your thinking?
Try and slow him down. I'm not a guy this year that can really go and get guys and punch them out. And trying to slow him down, get the ball on the ground, and try and get 2 and get out of there with 1 run. But made some pitches when I needed to and got those 2 guys out.
An excellent outing for Walker, and he's, as he's come back from these injuries, the strikeouts really haven't been there for him, and he was a guy that was almost crowned the next Dodger up, big game pitcher. He was going to replace Clayton Kershaw, game 1 type stuff. Obviously, he goes through some injuries. He's back now, and last night, I think that was the biggest thing for me, Katie. The sweeper usage was up from 8% to 23%. He had 6 whiffs on that. His curveball was excellent. 7 swings, and on those 7 swings, 6 of them were whiffs. So I guess my question to you is, what is Walker Buehler returning to form mean for the Dodgers going forward?
I mean, it's huge, right? And I think you said it well. Walker Buehler was the next guy for the Dodgers, and they seemingly just pump out exciting pitching prospects. And when you think about what Walker Buehler's been through over the last 12 to 18 months, the injuries, the setbacks, I thought a night like last night, even though it was only 4 innings, that's probably fair to expect of what he can do to you or do for you right now. He was lights out. He showed to me so much semblance of the Walker Buehler pre-injury and what that hype was all about. And when you go in there, and we know about the Dodgers pitching this postseason, they've had to get real creative. They've had to have a lot of guys step up. Walker Buehler gave 4 innings of dominance, and it was all they needed. So everything about that, the gutsy performance, the way he executed, the pitch usage, the swings of the Mets batters, that tells you everything you need to know. For me, that was the most encouraging Walker Buehler outing the last 18 months. And if you're a Dodgers fan, you're super excited to see that.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my question mark for the Dodgers coming into the playoffs was what are they going to do with the starting rotation? We knew that Flaherty was going to be there. Yamamoto was still a question mark. Buehler, definitely a question mark. We know the bullpen was good. So, yeah, how are you going to navigate it? You can do that in a 5-game set. You know, I think that you have some days there. You had some off days. You can manipulate the bullpen. In a 7-game set, that was my question. Can they get through this NLCS and then into the World Series kind of with a Band-Aid on the starting pitcher? And now – all of a sudden, we're looking. Yamamoto had a good start. Now Walker's had a good start. Flaherty's had a good start. Now we're like, okay, this is 3 deep here, and that's all you really need. If you're going to have one bullpen game during a 7-game set, and you can rely on these 3 guys, it really, to me, makes them not that they weren't obviously a serious World Series contender before. This is a team that it can outslug anyone, but it just gives them that more of a chance. Say you're going up against the Yankees in the World Series, and they have their guys they're going to run out there. How are you going to match up, especially if your bullpen game doesn't go like how you want it? But this was such an encouraging sight, and whether Dodgers fans want to admit it or not, they had to be a little scared about their rotation going into the playoffs. And Walker looking like this definitely answered some of those questions. Let's get to Shohei.
Yeah, please.
This has been really interesting. We'll go quick on this. So far, with runners on this postseason, he's 7 for 9. That's really good. Don't know if you know that. That's really good. Ohtani, though, with the bases empty, 0 for 22, 11 Ks. Is this just like an anomaly?
I think it's a funny anomaly. Like, I'm not really all that concerned about it because think about if the roles were reversed, right? If he's 7 for 9 with nobody on and all of a sudden 0 for 22 with runners in scoring position, we're freaking out, right? So let's just take the positives where they are. You have, I understand, leadoff hitter, best player in baseball. You want him to get on base and rally a little bit, but he's coming through when they need him to. And that's what matters, right? Because you think about it. He gets a single with nobody on. Okay, cool. He maybe starts a rally. Probably with that lineup, he ends up scoring. But what's worse to me is if there's runners on second and third or prime scoring position and he strikes out, or that 50% strikeout rate with nobody on doesn't look so good when there are runners in scoring position. So to me, yeah, sure, we can nitpick it. I think it's just more of a funny anomaly than anything. And if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm just really glad this is the split and not the other way around.
You are totally – I didn't even think about that. You're totally right. If this was the other way around, he was banging the ball around with nobody on. You're like, hey, this is the spark plug Shohei Ohtani. That's not as cool as like the RBI 3-run homer Shohei Ohtani. So that makes – I like that you came up with that. That's really good. The bomb last night was incredible. When he hits them, man, they go a long way. 116 off the bat. And then that was basically the dagger for the Mets. Again, they're down 2-1 against the Dodgers. Let's preview game 4 a little bit. The Mets mindset going into that. Francisco Lindor and Carlos Mendoza talked a little bit about runners in scoring position going into game 4.
Those are the guys that are in there got us to this point, and I'm pretty confident that they'll come true, and yeah, you're playing playoff, and when you're facing a pitching staff like that, it's gonna be hard at times. We're creating traffic, I like the fact that we're getting guys on base, just haven't been able to come up with a big hit. But I'll continue to take my chances with our guys here, and as long as we continue to create traffic, somebody's going to come up and get the big one for us.
When we have people in base, we got to execute. That's what now what it comes down to. They executed their pitches when we have people on base, and we didn't.
So I mean, they're right about the runners in scoring position. That's you gotta come through in those situations to win games. So far this series, I have them at 4 for 19 with runners in scoring position. The Dodgers, on the other hand, 10 for 33. Do you agree with their assessment that that's really the only thing that's got them down in this series?
I mean, it's not exactly a bold proclamation to say you have to execute with runners in scoring position, and I'd agree and the main thing I say this is because when you think about the September Mets and the early October Mets, they were so good at cashing in on the big moments. And the big moments, more often than not, don't happen when there's nobody on base. The big moments are runners on second and third, or, one out, bases loaded, times where you need to cash in and there's a lot of pressure on the hitter at the time to come through in those situations, and they did, right? I think Mets fans are still celebrating that 3-run homer from Pete Alonso against the Brewers. So to me, while, you can nitpick all you want, but to me, it just comes down to scoring when it matters, scoring in big moments. To me, big moments rarely, if ever, happen when nobody's on base. Big moments are when there are runners on second and third or bases loaded, and it's a prime scoring position. There's a lot of pressure on the hitter to come through in that moment, in the clutch. And you know this, Trev, when you think about when you're an opposing team and you see the opposing hitter hit a solo home run, you're like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Don't like that, but that's 1 run, we can get that back. 3-run homers, grand slams, the 2-run doubles, those are like, okay, hey, that hurts. That's tough. You're thinking like, okay, we're gonna have to rally hard for that. So not only is hitting with runners in scoring position critical for the Mets, it's also demoralizing to the opposing team when you come through in a big moment like that. That's really hard for morale. So it's a two-way street there. I think if the Mets execute and kind of get those big hits, score multiple runs, the RBI doubles, the big singles there that score multiple runs, the Dodgers are all of a sudden like, okay, now the pressure's on us, and it can create that ripple effect.
I totally agree, and we saw last night, bottom of the second, they get the bases loaded, and Francisco Alvarez comes up. He's trying. So I think what I would say to that, he's trying to create that big moment, and you can't do that. You really just have to try to simplify your approach. We saw the bat fly out of his hands, first pitch. It looked like he was trying to hit a grand slam. He didn't. He ended up striking out, and then that was when Walker got Lindor on that beautiful curveball. So I think, yes, we need those moments, but let's try to simplify our approach. Another thing that I was looking at and I think is important no matter what, even during the regular season, but during these short series, I think it's really paramount, is turning the lineup over. Like what's the bottom of your lineup doing? The 8-9 hitters in these 3 games for the Mets have gone 2 for 16. They have walked 3 times. For the Dodgers, it's a little bit better. It's 5 for 20 with 3 walks, but they've also done some damage. Kike in the 9-hole last night hitting the home run. I think, especially for the Dodgers, they've been able to do that, and they need to get runners on for Shohei, but they've shown that with Kike down there, they can do that. I think, Tyrone Taylor and Francisco Alvarez need to be able to do that for Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos in the top of that lineup. If you just have a void down there of guys not putting up good at bats, and it's just like, hey, here's 3 free outs. I mean, that's how you shorten games. So I would say they got to have some production at 8 and 9. And then another thing, and you tell me if you agree with this, is I think they got to get over like the comeback kid mentality. Like that was awesome. It got you to where you're at, but like, how many times can you do it? Can you continue to do it against the Dodgers? And then if you get into the World Series, is that what you want to do? I think you need to go out and score first, which they did in the game that they won. Francisco Lindor comes out, hits the home run. Then we get the Mark Vientos grand slam. I would latch onto that identity rather than like the comeback kids. Let's go out and try to get an early lead and put the pressure on the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's certainly how you should draw it up, right? Because it's much easier to play when there is no stress in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. But, the Mets, when you think about what they did in September, the early October run, that was just kind of like, I liked how they played because they didn't show any kind of cracks in their composure. They had this like kind of almost assured confidence, like, hey, we've done this before, so we're going to take every advantage of all 9 innings. And that's why I think some of their at bats, like the Francisco Alvarez at bat you just mentioned, have been a little perplexing because they're forcing it, right? And this is a Mets team that's proven, if you take your quality at bats, you stick within your approach, you trust your process, all those cliches that they love to say would actually do help, you'll contribute. You'll have those big hits that they've been lacking. So I liked the identity of the September Mets, the early October Mets. I liked their approach. I liked their composure. And it's obviously in the NLCS against the Dodgers, it's difficult to keep that same mentality. But the Mets are at their best when they're confident. And sure, scoring first helps with that confidence. But right now, the last thing that you need to do if you're a Mets hitter, much easier said than done, of course, is to go out there and feel like you need to force it. Because when you force things, it's not going to go your way.
I like that. Just a couple things before we move on. Dodgers are 72-16 when scoring first. That's crazy. That's the best in Major League Baseball. On the flip side, the Mets are 37-50 when the opponent scores first. That's also best in baseball. So we're seeing here a little bit of both sides. And then Quintana goes tonight against Yamamoto. I think that's going to be a great matchup. Quintana's been awesome. 6 starts since the start of September, 5 of them being scoreless, and he actually throws really well against the Dodgers. So if you're looking for another reason why the Mets can get back into this series, it's the guy on the mound tonight who's just had a phenomenal year for those Mets.
I'll tell you right now, Jose Quintana, probably the most underrated postseason pitcher, not just this year, but every year he's in the postseason. I mean, that dude, just some guys unlock like a different level of dog mentality in October. And to me, that's Jose Quintana. He goes out there every single time. He doesn't have necessarily like overpowering stuff. He's not going to light up the radar gun, but he is going to outpitch his opponent. And he's so confident and calm with his approach and how he's going to attack hitters. And every time he's up there, I expect to see a 0. And so far this October, knock on wood, Mets fans, don't hate me, he's been able to do that. So I look forward to Jose Quintana starts, and I'm excited to see what that looks like tonight.
Prediction for tonight? I
think the Mets. Look, I've been a Mets fan advocate on this show since I've joined. You guys deserve some happiness, and I want it to be a 7-game series. So Mets.
And you know what we need more of, Katie? That's to get off our ass. With bold flavors and a refreshing citrus kick, Mountain Dew will get you off your ass and have you feel like you're on an actual mountain. A mountain where the weather is always perfect. Your friends are ready to hang, and a day of epic proportions awaits. You can do all sorts of things. We can go fishing. I like playing hacky sack. I like throwing the frisbee around. My favorite thing is running football routes and saying I could do this in the NFL, even though I couldn't. How about kickball, frisbee golf, wiffle ball, pickleball, or if you're a video game person, why don't you bring those video games outside and do the do? The mountain is calling. You should answer. Grab your friends, grab an ice cold Mountain Dew wherever refreshing beverages are sold, and do the do. Let's move on, though, to the ALCS. The other series here where the Yankees have a commanding 2-0 lead with the Guardians, and Stephen Vogt had a few things to say about that.
We're always confident going into every game. We love playing at home. We love playing in front of our fans, and I think for us, knowing we have 3 games here, we feel really good about it. Obviously we would have loved to have taken 1 in New York, but we still feel really good about our chances.
Okay. I like Stephen Vogt's confidence. Are you as confident in the Guardians to get back into the series as Stephen Vogt is?
Look, without Rosie, I feel like there needs to be some Cleveland love and support.
No, I want to hear what you really think, Katie.
And I like Stephen Vogt. I do. And I like the Guardians. The problem is that they have just looked so overmatched in 2 games. The New York Yankees have straight out dominated those games. And it feels like watching at least those 2 that the Guardians have to play perfect baseball just to stay in contention with the Yankees. And that's really hard to do. When you're down 2-0, obviously, it's hard to win at Yankee Stadium. I get that. It's especially with the Yankees missing the postseason last year. Yankees fans are ready to rock. This game feels must win, though. And for me, the Guardians have shown not a lot where they can maybe match up against the Yankees as much as they'd want to. So We'll see. Again, I'm trying to be strong for Rosie's sake, but it's really hard because the Yankees have just looked really, really good in these first 2 games.
So you mentioned playing perfect, and I think, what that means to me is playing defensively sound, moving runners, having good at bats, and you're right, they just haven't done that at all. Stephen Kwan even referenced that after the game. He talks about the guard ball identity. That's kind of like the Cardinal way, isn't it?
Kind of like the Cardinal way.
Kind of like the Cardinal way.
I like
right
guard
there.
ball.
I like guard ball too. So he says they need to get back to that. That means playing fundamentally sound baseball, doing the small things, aggressive base running, bunting, moving runners over, all those good things. And I agree. That's how they're going to beat this Yankees team. They cannot give the extra base. They can't afford or to try and outslug these Yankees. I said that before the series coming into it. You're going to need some 3-run homers to beat this Yankees team in a 7-game set. But again, similar to like the Mets with runners and scoring, you can't try for that. Like you just have to go up there, especially with the Guardians. You just have to go up there and have good at bats. You got a couple guys that can pump you. Jose Ramirez, obviously, and Josh Naylor. Everybody else, like let's just calm down and play our game. There has been some good things for the Guardians, so I will give them a little bit of credit. Brian Rocchio at the bottom of the lineup has been really good. If he can continue that, and continue to put the top of the lineup in advantageous positions, like that's what they need to do. They really haven't come through in those situations. We've seen J Ram up there with a chance to tie the game, and he hasn't been able to do it. And that's when you're talking about those 2-run doubles, those 3-run homers. They mean so much. If I had to answer my own question, do they have a realistic chance? It doesn't seem like that right now. It really doesn't. And a lot of people think I hate their team no matter what I say. I think the Yankees really are like rounding into form right now. They found like their bullpen mix. Aaron Judge hits the homer to like center field, right center. I think that is like a total get him going swing, and that's very scary for the Guardians. So I don't know if they have a chance. And tonight, if they get the victory tonight, which Matt Boyd's on the hill, and the Yankees have struggled against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitchers. That's documented throughout this year. If they can steal one tonight, then my confidence meter will go up slightly. It will. But if they lose tonight and they go down 3-0, it's pretty much over. That's not great analysis right there. That's pretty obvious. I don't know. I'm also like you, trying to figure a way that these Guardians can really get back into it. They have to play their game. They have to neutralize Soto, which they haven't been able to do, and they have to pray that home run did not get Judge going. We have not seen Emmanuel Clase pitch because they just haven't been in a situation. They haven't given themselves even a chance in these games. So I think I can speak for all baseball fans. We just want good baseball series. So I'm rooting for the Guardians to get back in this thing, but man, I don't feel too confident.
No, it feels like an elimination game. It really does. And maybe we're wrong. And maybe when Chris Rose comes back from his overseas adventure, he'll tell us that we were wrong. But I agree with you. It's just really hard to envision a comeback for the Guardians based on how overpowered they looked in the first 2 games.
This is a crazy stat. And I know they've been doing this like all year long, but the Guardians rotation, the starting pitchers have only thrown 22 1/3 innings in 7 games. I mean, I'm not like big math guy, but that's like just over 3 innings per game. Like,
yes. I don't know, Trev. I'm an old head. I like the Jack Flaherty performances, the 7-inning shutout ball. I understand that's not what we do anymore. I get it. Stephen Vogt has done a really nice job in getting the best out of his pitching staff. But man, if I see a starter go in the 2nd and 3rd, I'm booing the TV. I don't care who it is or what. I don't care if it's the right call. I don't want to see it.
You're an old head. Love that. Guardians 50-30 at home. So, hey, maybe home cooking. Maybe that's what they need. We're going to move on to we'll get out of the playoffs for a little bit here. This one was very interesting. This was a report by our good friend, Britt Giraldi. She has an article out in The Athletic talking about Jerry Reinsdorf is open to selling the White Sox, which is pretty crazy. If you know Jerry Reinsdorf, he owns pretty much all the sports teams in Chicago, and he's a guy that's been there for a long time. I believe he purchased a team for $24 million back in the day. It's worth around $2 billion now. That's a pretty good investment. This comes on the heels of the Pohlad family, who I know very well, saying that they're searching for a team, or searching for a group to sell the Minnesota Twins to. I guess I just want to get your general thoughts on this, about two teams coming up. We saw the Orioles just change hands. Do you think this is just the right time for these guys to cash in on their investments? The Pohlads also bought the team a long time ago, decades ago, for $40 million. Is this just the right time to cash in for these families? Or do you think there's something larger at play, i.e. the television regional network deals?
No, I think the regional network deals definitely play into it, especially for the Twins, a Bally's team. And we know about the Bally mishaps for, half the league, it feels like. It's interesting to me because I think about what Britt's done. She's great, so great at her job. And I think about
She's
that
the
White
best.
Sox story.
She's already at the gym, by the way. She's not
She's
waiting.
probably at the gym. Yeah, of course she is. And she's insane. That story that she and Ken Rosenthal wrote about the kind of demise, the inside the layers of the White Sox, I thought was pretty revealing. And when you are the owner of a team that's lost 500 games in the last year, you probably need to do some self-reflection, right? So I'm not sure, for obviously the White Sox are not a Bally's team. I think maybe there are different reasons for why these potential sales could take place. And you probably know much more about the Twins than I do in this case. But it is interesting to have not just two teams up for potential sale, but two teams in the same division. And you wonder how that's going to change the AL Central if those sales do indeed happen.
Yeah, I'm curious because the White Sox were about to basically start their own regional network. I believe they've already started with the Bulls and the Hawks, and a lot of regions are trying to do that. I know the Twins were exploring that at some point, and it hasn't come into fruition. The Twins will be broadcast by MLB, so they'll take over the pre and post, and I believe you'll be able to stream all these games. And for the Twins, I believe that's going to be a massive hit to revenue. The regional sports deals were, in the 40s, $50 million a year. I don't believe they're going to be getting that. Although I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. So yeah, this is very interesting. And I also, this thought crossed my mind. Okay. And sometimes I'm just going to splurt some stuff out that doesn't make any sense. Do you think like the negativity that these both these franchises, I mean, the Twins from day one this season, when Joe Pohlad came out and said they were going to have to cut payroll, and they didn't really do anything at the trade deadline, coming off their first playoff series victory in years. The fans weren't happy with that. They didn't show up. There's a lot of negativity around them owning the team, and it's been there, but it was very loud this year. Obviously, the year that the White Sox had was abysmal and a ton of negativity surrounding them. Do you think that there's any impact of that? Like, hey, like there's so much news now and social media, and like the voices are getting louder with the criticism. Do you think that plays into this at all?
I certainly think it's a theory, and it might, especially for the White Sox, because think about the last time the White Sox were like truly relevant in a good way, I should say. And were considered a threat. Same with the Twins. They've had their playoff appearances every now and then, but have they really been like a powerhouse organization, right? And it's hard when you're a Minnesota and you're a smaller market. I get that. But when you're an ownership group and you see, I think it's more or less when you see a chance to stop making money. And I think if you're the Twins specifically, that Bally's deal is legit. I'm dealing with on the Cardinal side right now in the same situation. Not having a regional sports network, not having that TV revenue, that's a massive decline for payroll. And no matter what kind of process that these teams do, whether it is the White Sox having their own sports network, whether it's the Twins maybe doing the same thing, or staying with Bally at a discounted rate, you're losing a ton of money. So for me, it's probably coming down to profitability. Again, I'm not a math girl, so don't ask me to break down the numbers and percentages. I don't know. I would just assume you're losing a lot of money, so maybe it's a better financial investment to potentially explore selling the team. That sounds mathematically sound to me.
if you're not a math girl and I'm not a math guy, what are we doing here? I disagree with that a little bit. I do think that these teams are profitable. They'll never open the books up. That's just the bottom line. They won't do it. And I think there's a lot of auxiliary income that we don't get to discuss that they will claim is not baseball related, but clearly is baseball related. You see, what the Cubs have done all around their stadium, building up, what am I looking for? A sports book around, and all the the real estate that gets owned around these stadiums and the traffic that gets drawn because of the baseball team. To me, that's baseball related income. Again, they'll never open up the books. I believe that each team can and is profitable. Plus, you're talking about the franchise values continuing to rise and rise and rise. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that Dave Stewart and his group is really trying to buy a team. They want one in Nashville. They were trying to do some stuff in Oakland. And now, apparently, according to Britt, they're talking to Jerry Reinsdorf about the White Sox as well. Hey, Dave, what's up, dude? Like, I'll get in the group too. I don't have a lot of money, but I got 5 on it, as they say. How about that?
You're good for vibes.
I'm good for, yeah, exactly. I'll do some silly stuff for you. We got one more topic before we get to that. I do want to tell you about Mando. I don't know if you've heard about this, Katie, but today's episode is brought to you by Mando. It's a whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere on your body. Here we go. Pits, balls, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. Okay, created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. My daughter, Isla, she is about to turn 7 years old, and she sees these ads all the time on TV. So she asked me if I had any Mando, and I said yes. So the other night for her shower, I gave her my bourbon and leather Mando body wash, and she loved it. So how about that? They have a solid deodorant stick. They have a spray deodorant. It's aluminum free and ideal for those hard to reach places. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, like I said, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code baseball today at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. It's a true story about my daughter. She's like, do you have any of this Mando? I said, I do. Actually, I do. Dad has some. And she used it and she liked it. And my daughter smelled like bourbon. Bourbon and perfect. It smells good, but not something you expect a 7-year-old girl to smell like. As we always do, our last topic of the day is a little bit silly. Let's listen into pitching coach Mike Harkey talk about Anthony Rizzo.
I try to keep it as loose as I can because I know every time the phone rings, it becomes a little bit heart pounding, especially when Rizzo calls in the 4th inning like he always does.
He's calling in the 4th inning? What's he saying?
I don't know, but I have to yell at him after every game and stop playing on the phone. But yeah, he likes to play on the bullpen phone.
Now I know Anthony Rizzo. He's a pretty big guy. But Mike Harkey looks like a left tackle. Like what? I would not be messing with that guy. And calling a bullpen like randomly, especially during the playoffs, I mean, that's pretty ballsy to me. Like those guys are like so intense out there. I know they go out there with their backpack full of snacks and gummy bears and Red Bulls and all those good things. But during the game they get intense. So I don't know about this one. What do you got on that?
I like it. I do. Okay. You need a guy like that, especially like Anthony Rizzo, a guy that can get away with it, that can just lighten up the tension. And baseball guys we're all joking around, right? Everyone's just there to have a good time, even in the middle of the postseason when the stakes are on the line. So you go in there, it's funny. It's a long season. You do things that make people laugh, and it's the 4th inning. Imagine like a tight moment. All of a sudden, you're a bullpen catcher, you're a bullpen coach, and you answer the phone. You're Anthony Rizzo. I know you're so exhausted, but at the end of the day, you're also laughing because he's the kind of guy that can get away with it. And it matters who's doing it.
Yeah,
right?
So true. And
Rizzo's the guy to get away with it.
Like Oswaldo Cabrera can't just like pick up the phone and do that.
No, it has to be Rizzo.
Okay. You got anybody on the Cardinals that's like funny? I know you guys have the Cardinals way, just like the Twins are so serious. Is anybody funny on that team?
I think Newbar is funny, and he's a guy that for whatever reason can like get away with things and make everyone laugh, even if they drive him crazy, or vice versa. Newbar could probably get away with it. Your pal Kyle Gibson, he's a funny dude. He's a prankster. But I think, probably Lars. I've only seen one person be able to get Nolan Arenado to relax, and that is Lars Newbar. He just has this like infectious personality. He's always messing around. The facial expressions. It's probably Lars, I think.
Okay. I'm such a big fan of the gum bubble on the hat, and that's like my favorite prank because it's like it's funny. It takes a little bit of you have to be tactical with it. It takes some skill. You can't just go up there and plop it on somebody's hat. You got to be sneaky, and then it just sits on there. They have no idea. That's always my favorite. I believe I've gotten Kyle Gibson with that a few times back in the old day. Yeah. Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Baseball Today. Again, thank you, Katie. You're going to be with us again tomorrow, filling in for Chris Rose. Everyone loves when you're on. They always comment how much better you are at this than I am. But you know what? Today, they're going to be talking about you and how much better I am than C. Rose. And you, I don't know what I'm saying right now, but it was great to have you on. Any last words?
I don't think so. Maybe it was just, hey, let's go to the gym.
That's a weird thing to say. Let's go to the gym. There you
go.
All right. So for myself, Coach Trevor Plouffe, Katie Wu, and producer Robbie Sirocco, aka Bobby Galls, we will see you tomorrow on Baseball Today.